Welcome everybody to 52 Living Ideas. Tonight we'll be covering the Analects, book 12. We'll start with chapter 11. So we'll have one reading, or at least or two, and then we'll go to Jason's translation. He'll walk us through the translation, and then we'll have a series of comments. And after those comments, we ask keep them brief for now, so that we can get through as much as possible, and then we can open it up for a little bit more of a detailed discussion afterwards, if anyone's interested. So with that, does anybody have their version of the Analects that they would like to read? I didn't think so.
Well, I'm willing to read the Eno.
Yeah, it's
oh, well, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful, because I don't even have it up right now.
That's the stuff 11, 12, and 13. Book 12. Okay. Book 12,
Okay.
chapter 11, 12, and 13.
Is it my turn or?
Yeah, go right ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that it was someone else. So 12.11, is it right?
That's correct.
Okay, so Duke Jing of Qi asked Confucius about governance. Confucius replied, "Let the ruler be ruler, minister, ministers, fathers, fathers, sons, sons." The Duke said, "Excellent. Truly, if the ruler is not ruler, ministers not ministers, fathers not fathers, sons not sons, though I possess grain, wouldn't I be able to eat it?" And that is the end of 12.11.
You can go ahead and read 12 and 13 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, 12, 12, 12, and 12, 13.
12.12. The master said, "Able to adjudicate a lawsuit by hearing a single statement, would this not characterize Yo? Zulu never postponed fulfillment of a promise overnight." 12.13. The master said, "In hearing lawsuits, I'm no better than others. What is imperative is to make it so that there are no lawsuits." End of it.
Thank you, Kwang. Okay, so 12, 11 basics, I think that's very similar, and then it kind of like become a standard translation. And just put a note, the 12:11 is probably one of, I would not say the most famous, but very, very famous Confucius philosophy, right? So if moral political philosophy, okay, put this way. So if you only want to remember one verses, this one probably the one, So Duke Jing of Qi asked Confucius about governance. Confucius replied, "Let the ruler be a ruler, ministers minister, fathers father, and the sons sons." Okay. The Duke said, "Good. If the ruler is not a ruler, minister not minister, father not fathers, and the son not sons, even if I had food, how can I eat it?" So the word he used, the Duke Jing used, is "li," which means, I think, translate as a grain. That's just the meaning of grain. So it could mean food, it also means the revenue. You have money because during that time you have more grain, also means you have enough revenue. So we don't know, what he meant exactly, but basically is this one. And this one is reflect Confucius' the key philosophy, which so-called the rectification of names. So father should be act like father. A ruler should act like a ruler, and the father should act like father. Son should act like son. If so, the problem happened during that time is the ruler doesn't act like a ruler, and the minister didn't act like a minister. I think I'm not very sure. When Confucius talk about this, it's during Confucius' young age when he was in the royal court of the state of Qi, and during that time, the Duke Jing of Qi, I think he has some problems. It's one of his powerful minister is, I'm not quite sure, but that's have some historical background. Yeah. So, okay. Number 12, the master said, one who can settle dispute, or we want to call it lawsuit, with a few words. He must be you, which means 指路. So Confucius, this one is a Confucius comment about 指路. So he said that the one can settle dispute or lawsuit with a few words, must be 指路. And 指路 never postpone what he has promised overnight. We just heard Eno's translation is talking about one can settle dispute with single statement. I think that's Eno's translation. And then some translation will translate as a one-side argument. So we don't know what it really means. Chinese word called 片言. In a way, you can say one side. In another way, you can say a piece of word. So I think based on the Confucius comment about 指路 never postponed, so I will assume here means make a decision with a few words. Okay, so that means 指路 always make a quick decision. So that's my understanding on this. Chapter 13. You can read 12 and 13 together. Okay, the master said, in hearing lawsuit or dispute, I'm like others. However, my purpose is to have no lawsuit or no dispute. So during that time, as a minister, as a doing the officer, the main job would be settle the lawsuit. So dealing with lawsuit is important, or dispute we can call. And the Confucius, you can tell here, the purpose is, I think during that time, the concept of justice is not that important. I think harmony is more important. So important thing is not justice. The important thing is the no lawsuit. That means harmony. People live in peace. That's Confucius' idea. So I'll stop here, and then if you have any comment, Amang is not here today, so you can have your own comment, and then.
So go ahead, either type exclamation point in the chat or raise your hand in Zoom if you have any comments about number 11, 12, or 13. Juan, and then DLJ.
As Jason said, the 12.11 is a super famous Confucian statement, and most of the time it is used to bash Confucianism because Once again, Confucianism has to be distinguished between the bureaucratic Confucianism, what was promoting hierarchy, order, and etc. And it can be interpreted in that sense, of course. And also Confucianism as action in harmony with reality. So here you can uh, say that it is either a fair statement about the natural hierarchy and the natural order, with each one fulfilling its duty according to his capacity and design, or you can use it as a kind of authoritarian principle used to oppress people. So that statement is absolutely famous in political science in China since at least the last 2 millennia. I stop here.
Thank you very much, Juan. I do want to maybe revisit that at some point, because there seems to be an element of role ethics. DLJ.
Yeah, thanks. Can somebody take me through 11 again? I really don't get it. Even if there's sufficient grain, will I ever get to eat it? Because there's no administration to distribute it? Is that what it's supposed to mean? I don't know.
Yeah, because there is no order, and there would be chaos if everyone is not fulfilling his duties at his place.
It really highlights the
Okay,
balance
so I did understand
between,
it.
because there is this social order and ethics balance.
Yeah, my explanation could be a little bit different. Okay, I read this one as a rectification of name. Okay, so I think in book 13 will mention this one. I think Confucius' key political philosophy is the name. So when he label you as a name, as a father, you have to play the role, the function of father. When you got the name as a son, you have to play the function or the duty as a son. When you being labor has a name of ruler or prince or lord, you should have the duty, okay, as a lord, or same as minister, same as older brother, younger brother. That's my understanding on this one. So I will put this one as the key Confucius teaching, which is the name is very important. And later on, you will say, Confucius will say, the name is not, I think it's in book 13, the name is not proper, then you cannot speak properly. If you don't speak properly, then you cannot have command people. If you cannot command people, nothing can be done. So to Confucius, that's very important. So that's the way I read this one. I will put this one as a name.
So next up we have Allison, Mike C, and then we'll go to Quan.
I really like this one because I think today we have a saying, stay in your lane, which seems kind of similar in a way, but I mean, I think, we had a reality star who became president, and not to go to politics, but it seems like it's pretty important that people do the job that they're supposed to do. And that I feel like, I don't know if it's because anybody can Google anything, so sometimes we feel like we're experts on everything, but it seems like so often today people are trying to tell other people how to do their job, like they try and tell the doctor, I think I have this or that, or they try and tell teachers that how to do our job. People want to tell everybody else how to do their job, and rather than sticking to the job that they're actually trained and prepared to do. And I think that's it's just an interesting thing, because I kind of feel like we're in sort of an era where everybody wants to give unsolicited advice about things that they don't necessarily know. much about. So I really like the idea of like, you know, the father needs to be the father, the son needs to be the son, the minister needs to be the minister. And, you know, it's yet again another time when, you know, Confucius's wisdom is so relevant to today.
So as a teacher, you probably want to tell student, teacher as a teacher, student as a student, right? So
Well, yeah, and I think like I always feel like I learn from that. I learn a lot from them. But you know, sometimes there are many people who try and tell teachers how to do our jobs, and they are not qualified for the, you know, their opinions aren't actually based on anything other than emotions rather than fact. So yeah.
So, go ahead, Mixie.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. Yeah, I kind of read this like the first part is like the Lord is the Lord, the Father is the Father, and so on. And that kind of just it's like we all kind of work as a whole. So like when you know when my neighbor's being the neighbor, kind of everyone is in their place in a true way to themselves. And I think the key word is true, as in like sincere to ourselves. If we are like who we are, society kind of works as it should as a whole. But like when the Lord is not true and like the Father is not the Father, kind of like where they play a role, but they're not actually true to their word, the system falls apart. So you can't really be a true whole if there's like synthetic, I guess, you know, ministers, lords, fathers. I also see it kind of like a waterfall effect where like if the Lord is not, you know, playing by the rules, then whoever else is below says, hey, like, you know, that's not fair. Like I'm also going to follow suit, and it kind of just will almost like a ripple effect that will kind of affect society in that certain way. So yeah, I like these. Thanks.
Excellent comments. Thank you, Mike. Well, Quan.
Okay. Even if Jason said quoted the chapter 13.3 to a certain extent, I still want to read the 9 lines from chapter 13.3, which is exactly the perfect philosophical expansion of what has been read at 12.11. Okay, so bear with me. If names are not right, then speech does not accord with things. If speech is not in accord with things, then affairs cannot be successful. When affairs are not successful, Li and music do not flourish. When Li and music do not flourish, then sanctions and punishment miss their mark. When sanctions and punishment miss their mark, the people have no place to set their hands and feet. Therefore, when a Junzi gives things to names, they may be properly spoken of, and what is said may be properly enacted. With regard to speech, the Junzi permits no carelessness. Thanks.
thank you, Kwang. That will be next week. You spoil the story, so.
Yeah. No,
It's,
give everybody a
it's, it's too perfect because you know that I am the promoter of Confucianism as a epistemological school. So 12.11 sounds so authoritarian that I feel the need to add the epistemological explanation at once.
That's true though. If you only read this one by itself, right, you feel like Confucius only built the bureaucracy hierarchy system.
Yes.
But if you connect with his philosophy of the rectification of name, well, I'm not saying he doesn't build the hierarchy. He does believe the hierarchy system, but behind that, he has idea of the proper name come with proper function. And actually, this concept is very westernized. So for 1,000 years in the Western philosophy, people keep arguing the name and substance. I think the way we argue is the Western world argue is the name, the universal, and the individual, right? So exactly. I think the particular and the universal, that's very Western kind of concept. But Confucius mentioned this one, and then a lot of people take it in a different ways. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's nominalism and universals.
Yeah, There is, I do want to come back to this later. I mean, I'm not going to hold us up with this. But there's an idea, not only role ethics, but excellence along with that, the Greek concept of arte. So, where, you're fulfilling your responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions, and performing your role well. And actually, the other element is focusing on what is up to you. But it's much deeper than that, because even number 12, I want to come back to, because the idea gets into concepts of justice. So we can talk about that a little bit later. So with that, what next batch would you want to go through?
Let's do 14, 15, and the 16. Kwang, can please.
I'm sorry. Okay. Zhong asked about governance. The master said, fulfill your office untiringly, perform your duties with loyalty. 12.15, the master said, once a Junzi has studied broadly in patterns and constrained them with Li, indeed he will never turn his back on them. 12.16, the master said, the Junzi perfects what is beautiful in people, he does not perfect what is ugly. The small man does just the opposite.
Thank you, Kwang. Okay, so this three chapter is short, and the 14. Okay, number 14. Zhang asked about governance. The master said, be tireless while in office, be devotional in execution. All right, so here I like to mention Zhang is, if you remember on the book 11, chapter 18, the comment about Zhang is he is spacious. Okay, another way is he's probably not sincere enough, or he put too much on the outside, okay, the appearance. Okay, so that's his comment. The Confucius, we assume that's Confucius' comment about Zhang. So here, Zhang asks about governance. So Confucius asks him to really put effort on the real work, not on the appearance. That's why Confucius said, be tireless while in office, be devotion in execution. So the word here used zhong in general translate as loyalty. But I think during that time, that's my understanding, during that time, the loyal to country or state probably not a concept during that time. So I believe when Confucius talk about zhong, which is and always there's many times connect with the trustworthiness. Okay, so I think these two words always put together means Confucius asking about devotion, put your full heart in job, which is devotional, or put your full heart to people, which is trustworthiness on your word and on your job. So that's why I translate as devotional instead of loyalty. Chapter 15, again, that would be the difference between Dr. Eno, or the word Wen, I translate as literature or ancient knowledge. Dr. Eno always translate as pattern. So the master said, once a Junzi learns broadly in literature, okay, and constrains himself with rituals, he will never err. Okay, so the words he will never away from something. So that means he never make mistake. Let's put it this way. So, so you can see two sides. Confucius will see you need to study the ancient texts, and in a way, you should practice, put your learning in practice, and then being constrained with the ritual, then you will make no mistake. That's Confucius want to do. Number 16, the master said, a Junzi will help others achieve what is beautiful, but not help others achieve what is evil. The small man does just the opposite. So this one is become a common saying about the in today 成人之美 basically is in the common Chinese language means bring a romance to an happy end. All right. So, but definitely that's not Confucius meant. But what Confucius meant is hard to explain. Okay, I just have to translate by the words because he used the word 君子 will help others achieve what is beautiful. Okay, and not help others achieve what is evil. Translated as beautiful and ugly. I'm not sure this word means ugly. Okay, so my understanding would be the beautiful Confucius probably means moral. Okay, so, but the word Confucius used is beautiful. Thank you. Any comment?
Go ahead. Does anybody have a comment on 14, 15, or 16? Go ahead, Quan.
Okay, my comment is on 16. The Junzi perfects what is beautiful in people. He does not perfect what is ugly. The small man does just the opposite. I would say that like that, it looks obvious, okay, but it's one of the main principles of the classical education, okay, because in the classical education, and West or East is the same, there is a stark distinction between the superior emotions, okay, what is beautiful, and the inferior emotions, what is ugly or what is evil. So here, the Junzi, the gentleman, will always help people to be capable to have superior emotions, and the small man does just the opposite. Okay, so he will manipulate people through making them feel inferior emotions like anger or jealousy or etc.
Does anybody else wish to comment on 13 or 14, 15, or 16? I think that there's an interesting link because when he's talking about President 14, he's talking about governance and how to govern ethically, by not necessarily ethically, but at least efficiently. And he's focused on basically being aware of the types of let me see, is it the types of policies I would imagine being practiced or being put into place, and being consistent. So if you think about that, and he's talking about that in terms of leadership, also it's interesting to see that linked with number 16, in the sense that you're talking about what a superior person is, and how they actually are to cultivate the other people, people around them within government. So I think that that's actually an important point to link between those two, because it's not only you're talking about leaders that act consistent and efficient, and then you also are having leaders develop those around them if they're superior people. If they're not, then I guess that would be insufficient to fulfill their role.
Yeah, here, after listen to what Quang's comment, I think I'm going to change the translation to what is beautiful and what is ugly. I think that probably make more sense in this way, because the word means evil, but also means ugly. Ancient time, even it doesn't sound a moral teaching, but it could be. I think it makes more sense to read as what is beautiful and what is ugly, and let the reader to interpret what the meaning of beautiful and what's the meaning of ugly. I think that's a better way. Thank you.
I think number 15 is just to briefly cover it. I think it's significant as well. When essentially he's talking about not only learning, but learning what I'm going to say virtue. I'll go ahead and say virtue. He talks about propriety, and so in order to err on what is right, so that just the importance of continuous learning, and also some degree of temperance and self-restraint, at least in the translation that I'm looking at as well. You see the virtue of temperance. So, and it's something that's kind of spoken to throughout the Analects, is the importance of how learning, no matter what your position is in society, or whatever your abilities are, it's almost like you're morally obligated to learn. So that's one other interesting point about these three, within these three. Anybody else wish to comment? If not, what next three would you?
Yeah, let's read the next three, which all related to 季康. So,
Okay, 17, 18, 19. Okay.
Yeah.
12.17. Qi Kangzi questioned Confucius about governance. Confucius replied, governance is setting things upright. If you lead with uprightness, who will dare not to be upright? 12.18. Qi Kangzi was concerned about bandits and asked advice of Confucius. Confucius replied, if you yourself were truly not covetous, though you rewarded people for it, they would not steal. 12.19. Qi Kangzi asked Confucius about governance, saying, how would it be if I were to kill those who are without the Tao in order to hasten others towards the Tao? Confucius replied, of what use is killing in your governance? If you desire goodness, the people will be good. The virtue of the Junzi is like the wind, and the virtue of the common people is like the grasses. When the wind blows over the grasses, they will surely bend.
thank you, Kwang. So whenever we see the family Ji, especially Ji Kangzi, okay, that's we will need to remember. Ji is the powerful family, or we want to call warlord, okay, or the powerful minister during the court of state of Du, okay. So because they are in power, and the Confucius really dislike them, but has no choice but obey their order or be submit to them. Okay, so every time, and they also respect Confucius, so that's why Ji Kangzi would like to ask Confucius something. Okay, they see Confucius as a gentleman, as a smart, the person with wisdom, So they like to ask Confucius about governance. But Confucius ends always try to imply their moral problem, or they don't carry the right name. Remember, we talk about as a minister, you should be acting like a minister. Since Ji family should be only a minister, you should not act like a ruler. You should be act like a minister. So that's the problem. So Confucius always want to make sure it's Confucius' answer to Ji Kang or any people from Ji family always have this kind of implication. So Ji Kangzi asked Confucius about governance. Confucius replied, to govern is to rectify. If you start to rectify yourself to be upright, then who will dare not to be upright? So here is very famous talking about, in Chinese you will read as 正者正也. Okay, so the first 正 means governance. Okay, the second 正, the pronunciation are identical, and the words are in the same so-called radical. So if you see these two words, they are from the same root. So that means in Chinese, governance means rectification, or you want to call it upright. Okay. So they have, so the words governance, okay, political, already have its moral meaning embedded in the Chinese word. So in another way, the government must be upright, okay, must be correct, because this word and the word upright or rectification are the same pronunciation and share the same radical, also called same root. Okay, so in a way they share the same meaning. That's why when Ji Kangzi asked Confucius about governance, Confucius said to govern is to rectify. Okay, if you rectify yourself, then everybody will be correct. Okay, everybody will be upright. So that's Confucius' idea, and in a way also imply you, okay, Ji Kangzi, it's not upright. That's why people are not upright. 18, it kind of continue on that, right? So Ji Kangzi was concerned about the bandits and asked for advice from Confucius. Confucius replied, if you were not covetous, although you reward people, they will not steal. Okay, so here, Confucius again, you steal the power, you store the power of the state. That's why the common people was steal. Okay, then that's why the state has so many bandits, because you are the person who make the example. Number 19, Ji Kangzi. Okay, Ji Kangzi asked Confucius about governance. Again, right, the same question. Okay, but he asked, how about, he tried to have a suggestion. How about killing those who act without doubt? You know, that means without doubt means doing something evil in order to advance those who act with doubt. That means the good people. Confucius replied, when you govern, why should you use killing at all? If you desire the good itself, the people will be good. The virtue of Junzi is like the wind, and the virtue of small men, which means the common people, is like the grasses. When the wind blows over the grasses, they naturally bend. So the last sentence, the last metaphor is also another very important Confucius political philosophy. He talked about Junzi, which is the person who in charge of government or the government officer. Okay, so and the common people, small men. Okay, the common people. So he's talking about the Junzi. He used the metaphor. Junzi, the officer, is like wind, and the common people is like grasses. So when the wind blow, the glasses will naturally bend. That's Confucius' metaphor. And this one is important, will be different, very different than the later legalism thinking, right? Later legalism thinking, which is represented here, the 季康子 idea, kill the bad one, okay, and later on we say reward the good one, okay. So Confucius' idea is just opposite to the legalism, reward and the punishment. He talk about you set a good example, just like the wind. When you go and all the glasses will bend, they will follow you. So that's Confucius' moral, moral political philosophy. Yeah. I'll stop here and please comment.
So go ahead, anybody that wishes to comment on any of these passages.
DOJ has,
Type exclamation, yeah, DOJ has typed the exclamation point. I didn't see that.
Oh,
Thank you, DOJ. Go ahead, right ahead.
Okay, I have a clarification question and then an observation based on the answer. So the I'm probably not going to pronounce it right. Ji Kang Ji, is it?
Ji
He's,
Kang.
say it again.
Ji is the family name. Kang is his name, his title name. Zhi means Mr. Let's put it here.
Okay, is it? Right. Is that person the governor, the one doing the governing?
Yeah, he's the chief. He's okay. During
Right.
that time, the state of Lu had 3 families. Okay, in charge, the powerful family, and the Ji family is the most powerful, and the Ji Kang is the head of the Ji family.
Right. So on that basis, this seems like a very brave comment to make, because he's having a go, isn't he? Okay, so he's saying if you're virtuous, then the people will bend to your will. But there are robbers, so obviously they're not bending to his will. And in the one before that, he's saying if you're upright or virtuous, right, then they're gonna, it's all gonna be fine, right? Because you don't need to offer prizes if everybody's got what they want and all that stuff, right? Meaning, therefore, that he's pretty much telling this guy, you're not doing a very good job, which is why you've got robbers. Am I right in interpreting that way?
Yeah, I would say it's right, but let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. First, this one is recorded later time, right? So we don't know what the actual word Confucius said.
Of course.
The person, right? Actually, if you just upright, just like openly say, okay, because you
okay, so let's rephrase it then. So is the later author, is the later author then criticizing the ruler of the time?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the disciple recorded this one may not be the exactly same word. And when I translate, I probably, because English is always more clear than Chinese. So, Chinese has always had more implication. Okay. So in this way, after translate, it make it even more clear. So sounds Confucius is very brave. But of course he's brave, but probably not that brave. I don't know. It depends on how do you read it. And Kwang, you may have a different comment.
Go ahead, Kwang.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think that Confucius is relatively brave, or I would say brave with reason, in the sense that in China, the rulers always have to show that they are enlightened rulers. So the advisors knows perfectly that the rulers are constrained by that culture, and they cannot act too violently because they would damage their reputation considerably if they kill or if they do something very damageable to a high advisor like Confucius. So I would say that he was brave, but within certain limits. And I would like also to make a comment on 12.19 on the fact that the famous or the infamous, but for me it's famous phrase, the virtue of the Junzi is like the wind and the virtue of the common people is like the grasses. When the wind blows over the grasses, they will surely bend. Okay, so that is one and not yet another statement from Confucianism that can be interpreted as authoritarian, looking down on the common people and blah, 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 which is can be interpreted that way, of course. But here we have to understand that the Junzi here is the person that is epistemologically advanced. So normally there is a concept in classical Chinese culture which is te, and te is translated by virtue, but that virtue, according to Chinese understanding, is not only something in you that will make you have good behavior. The te is also the charismatic virtue. Okay, so if you are truly virtuous, there would be something in you that would influence people to go on the right epistemological evolution for themselves. So if you want to interpret epistemologically that sentence in the right sense, according to me, you have to see it as a positive influence on others so they would get themselves into the epistemological journey. I stop here.
Thank you, Quan. Would anybody
Oh,
else?
sorry.
Go ahead,
Can I
please.
just add, it does seem like they've got a basic understanding of natural selection. If you were just to execute all those people who don't follow the Tao, then then just naturally select or unnaturally select in this case, artificial selection. Then you end up with people who are going to breed people who are in line with the Tao. It's pre-Darwin by how many thousand years? Very good.
That's exactly the legalism, is doing.
Yeah, I was about to ask about legalism too, because you had brought that up. It's like Han Fei 1.0. So, yeah, I mean, I was going to, well, you know what? We'll go to Oscar first, and then we'll come back to that. I think that's an important point.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So this is my first meetup with the term of Confucius. So far, what I'm understanding is those who set. So governance is basically setting the stage, it's metaphor. But of course, those who set the stage are also responsible in what happens in the stage, basically the environment. So of course, I mean, when they say that the common man bends like the grass, it's basically saying wherever governance goes, most people will go as well. So you are the people in governance are the ones responsible for what actually happens. I mean that's what I'm understanding.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that that's a very good summation of where we started this evening with number. Was it 14 or 12, or was it? I think it was 12. So, or no, it was 11. Sorry.
11. Yeah.
It was 11. So yes, very much so. I think that that's an accurate statement when it comes to Confucius. Is that the idea of roles and how they're followed is very important. And there's also a lot of ethics around it. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I just like to mention, like, back to the chapter 11, right? The ruler as a ruler, and the minister, father, son. Okay, sounds very simple. Let's put it this way. So it's not why the minister is not act like a minister, because the ruler not act like a ruler, right? Why, in a way, why the son is not acting as son, because the father not acting as father. So in a way, you can see this one. Confucius is not never see like, okay, I be the good ruler, but all other people are bad. No, his idea, we can say it's too idealistic, but that's his view, is the society has a problem because the top people on the top has a problem, okay? And the problem usually is the moral problem. So that's he want to talk. And then here we will see it's significant different than the later legalism teaching, right? Legalism teaching would be reward and the punishment, and then that would be very different than that. And one thing I will kind of reflect on what Kwang talking about the and also DLJ asked the question between the relationship between the ruler and the minister. So here we can see, okay, I just kind of continue from what Kwang talking about. I think that's very important. Doesn't matter for 1,000 years, Chinese ruler, there's many tyrants, okay? And most of them, in my opinion, are not good rulers. Most of them are tyrants, but they all try to pretend be an enlightened ruler, okay? They all try to, at least that we will say that's Confucius' contribution. Doesn't matter how bad you are. And they always try to be enlightened. And same as the minister, they always keep a certain kind of bravery on them, but it's not kind of the, like today you just go out to protest, right? Go to the hell or just yell, not this kind of protest. They try to give suggestion with a reason, with a moral reason, humbly give the reason. So that's the relationship for 1,000 years between the ruler and the minister. I'm not saying that's the right thing or wrong thing, but I'm just saying that's make it special in the Chinese society, or we can say in the general in the Eastern society for 1,000 years. And another side subject is in my opinion, is the communist idea or Russian nihilist idea bring in that totally destroyed the Confucius, this kind of concept. Then we will start to have the mass killing, like cultural revolution or this kind of thing. So I think in a way, Confucius' moral teaching may not be the super good, supreme morality, but at least it protects very good on the downside. Okay, and then I think the communists probably destroy it. That's my opinion. Sorry.
Go ahead, Oscar. You can follow up, and then we'll go to Mike.
Oh no, I don't have any follow up, but I just had a question. I just want to pose to you guys. Do you think that governance in this scale is necessary for humanity to evolve?
I think that's a deeper question. I'd like to maybe revisit that afterwards. We have a little bit of a discussion afterwards. So, we'll jot that down and then we'll move on. So I don't mean to ignore the question. I promise we will come back to it. But I think it's a great question. But we want to work through the goal is to work through as many passages as possible. And generally we do keep the kind of commentary a little bit succinct into the text during this first hour and a half, whatever it may be. So go ahead, Mike.
Sure. It was kind of related to, it's a little astray right now, but it was regarding like virtue versus truth. So like you could say virtue is something static, like something like, as you mentioned, like, hey, we need to off these people so we can have a smaller amount or something. I would understand that as to be something static, but I would understand truth to be something more so that like resides within an individual, or it could be like a government, but truth can be like a beauty. So it's like it's understood where like if you see someone who is being true to themselves, let's say you see a person walking down the street who is true to themselves, their family, their neighbors, there's something that kind of radiates from them. And I think when truth kind of is like achieved in a sense, it's something that naturally flows. So I kind of took that into like where if the grass would blow, so like the government is the wind and the grass is the people. If the government is being true to their word, the people understand that there is truth within the system, and they will bend because they understand there is a truth. But if there's not a truth, as in there's not kind of if a government's a little off, there's going to be a problem with the bending of the grass.
Thank you very much, Mike. If there are no other comments for these three, we can come back to these afterwards.
So since we are moving a very bit fast, okay, so let's work on the 20 only, and then 21, 22. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're
They are
going
more
a little
related.
longer. Yeah.
Let's do 20.
Okay. So 12.20, Zhu Chang asked, when may a gentleman be said to have attained success? The master said, what do you mean by attaining success? Zhu Chang replied, his name is renowned throughout his state and his household. The master said, this is to be renowned, not to be successful. Attaining success lies in being straightforward in basic substance and loving the right, being perspicacious when listening to others speak and observant of their facial expressions, and bearing in mind deference towards others. Such a person will surely attain success in the state and in his household. As for being renowned, such a man gets a reputation for run from appearances, though his conduct contravenes it, and he is free of self-doubt. His name is renowned throughout his state and his household.
Thank you, Kwang. Okay. This one is specifically talking about zhang. Okay, and we remember we already talked about zhang at the beginning, right? On the chapter 14 is about governance. Okay, so zhang, let's give some background. Zhang is a very young disciple. He's probably 40 years younger than Confucius, and then he has a poor upbringing, and then probably a very ambitious, smart young people, that then probably very successful in government. That's why he asked, and then Confucius had a comment about him. He should be more solid. Okay, so not only work too much on appearance. So again, Confucius, that's a common, I always talk about this, because if you compare Confucius and Socrates, Socrates like to have a general definition, right? What's the meaning of brave? What's the meaning of virtue? Okay, but Confucius' answer is just object. Confucius is always specific when his answer about how to deal with government, his specific answer to that person, what you need to do. So again, I want to read chapter 20 independently, okay, because chapter 20 is specific about zhang, okay. So zhang, we can assume he has been working in the government and he probably doing a good job. So he asked, when may a learned person be said to be successful? So he called himself Shi, which means scholar or learned person. So that's he must talk about himself. Okay, he is probably starting a career. You want to know what's the meaning to be what can I do? What do you, in what situation you can be called be successful? The master said, what do you mean being successful? Okay, so it's Confucius asked him to tell him, what do you mean be successful? Zhang replied, his name is to be renowned through the state, to be renowned through his household. Okay. So household here in Chinese called jia, family, but I translate as a household. Basically, we are not talking about your family, 4 people, 5 people, father, mother, and the brother, not this kind of family. Basically, talk about the whole clan of your family, all the group of people share the same last name. So the master said, this is to be renowned, not to be successful. So here to talk about what Zhang's definition is not successful. You just want to have your name out through the state, through the household. Being straightforward and dutiful, carefully listening to people's words and observing their countenance, and being considerate and humble to people. This is to be successful. throughout the state, to be successful throughout the household. To renowned one may have the appearance of Ren, but act opposite to it, and never doubt himself. This is to be renowned through the state, and the renowned throughout the household. So the last part, Confucius is telling, he kind of point out what Zhang's problem, right? You only have the appearance of Ren, but you are not acting with this. So kind of like not really direct criticizing, but kind of give him a warning. This kind of person is dangerous. And actually, when you become successful, you just have your name out. It's not successful. Okay. And what you need to do to be successful, not just renowned. Confucius talk about three things, right? He talking about being straightforward and dutiful. He talk about to yourself, what you do for yourself, right? Be straightforward and dutiful. Second thing, carefully listen to people's word and observing their countenance. That's how you deal with your superior, okay? So you need to carefully listen to their word, and observing people's countenance is very important in Confucius' teaching, as respecting. In Confucius talking about xiao, filial piety. You need to make sure your countenance is right when you treat your facial expression should be right when you talk to your parents. So that's he's talking about. And being considerate and humble to people, which is dealing with the people inferior, lower than you. So here Confucius point out the three things, right? How to deal with yourself, what's the attitude for yourself, how to deal with people superior to you, how to deal with people inferior to you. And that's Confucius' advice, or you can say Confucius' warning to Zhang. Yeah. I'll stop here and please comment.
So go ahead and either raise your hand in Zoom or type exclamation point in the chat if you wish to comment on number 20. Go ahead, DLJ.
So I see reflections of this in modern society. Did they have a problem back then with the celebrity culture? Because that's really what he's having to go at, right?
Yeah, but I would like to say two things. Let's not forget that at the time of Confucius, the aristocrats, the wealthy aristocrats, what men of renown means specifically in this passage, okay, were the wealthy and powerful aristocrats who would pay for retainers, and those retainers, most of the time, but not always, were born in the lower stratum of the nobility, okay? And they would be, those powerful aristocrats would attract them because they would give them food and lodging, and their retainers would offer them theories or methods to govern, okay? So those were the men of renown. So when Zhang was speaking of men of renown, he wanted to be approved by one of those powerful aristocrats in order to make himself a name, to get a job at court, and to advance his own career. So it was very practical.
So yeah, like celebrity culture then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't learned much, have we?
No, well, I think it's a tad deeper than that, in the sense that essentially, I think that they're judging it more on a moral scale and based on virtue.
I think both of you are right.
Yeah. Well, is there a problem today?
Well, both of you are right in the sense that there is a social, how can I say it, a desire to climb the social ladder, okay? And I would say, why not? Why not? Okay, if you're capable to
That part
do
I agree.
your if you're capable to do your stuff correctly, and if you contribute to society, why not? And there's a deeper epistemological consideration. So I think that both you and D and J are right.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, absolutely. I guess we are on the same page pretty much.
I'd like to a little bit comment on this one.
Yeah, I would like to
This
go.
one, I think I don't know the celebrity culture during that time. I really don't know, but for sure we can see, right? Gossip probably played a role for the social media during that time in the household and in the royal court, right? Because I would assume household probably about 100 people. So if you are doing well, just like, if you think about your cousin, some of the doing CEO, become a professor in Harvard, in a famous school, his name is out, right? Some of your family member or some of your people in the company get a lottery or doing something very special. We all know. So I think that's probably the so-called celebrity culture during that time. But here, I think I'd like to back to the core teaching here. It's very specific to zhang, because zhang is the person not put enough effort on the real work. He's the person work on appearance a lot. Okay, that's why Confucius talking about it need to be in the book 11 talking about 师也辟, only 3 words. 师 is his name, 子张 the name is 辟. 辟 means only on the surface, okay, not on the solid work. That's why he's talking about successful. But his definition, I mean, 子张的 definition of successful is only talking about people know me, right? In the royal court, people know me in my household. And the Confucius want to tell him, okay, not this. This one is not successful. Confucius try to tell him, right? Be dutiful, straightforward when you do your work. Pay attention, okay, listen carefully to people's work. That's, I believe, he's talking about to your superior. Be humble to the people. And then he talked about when you deal with your inferior. So that's Confucius give him the advice on this. So it's a reflection of the solid, the real work, and the appearance, the name. Okay.
One. Okay.
Yeah, there was no Twitter in the past at the time of Confucius, but in the royal courts, among the aristocrats, you have a system of gossips that work as efficiently as Twitter in the past. And among the people, they would make the songs mocking the aristocrats. So there's also a kind of natural telephone system among the people of the different states. For example, when the cousin of the wife of Duke Ling of Wei came to the state of Wei to have an affair with her, the people were making songs about that. And I think that all civilized states in the Central Plain were perfectly aware of the marital affairs of Duke Wei at the time. So, and the other thing is that virtue signaling, because of Confucianism, was very important in the upper class in the past. Okay, as Jason said, one of the positive effects of Confucianism is that the rulers were at least forced to appear enlightened. Okay, so they were constrained to a certain degree to have virtue signaling. But I would say that the difference with the modern times, that virtue signaling is no more limited to the upper class, but is spread among the general population nowadays. I stop here.
Yes, actually, it's been democratized, I guess, so I guess we are making progress in that regard. If there are no other comments, I think that this one actually, when we come back for the the discussion, is I think that really going through what it means to be a person of notoriety versus a person of distinction could actually be a very interesting conversation, and what that actually entails from Confucius era and today. But we will continue on. I
Let's
believe
do
21
21,
to
22. Does it deal with the
Yeah.
same person? 繁殖.
Okay, so we do 21 and 22?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
same person.
Okay, so 12.21, Fan Chu accompanied the master on an outing past the altar of the great rain dance. May I ask about exalting virtue, reforming faults, and discerning confusion? The master said, when asked, be first to the effort and last to take reward. Is that not exalting virtue? To set to work open one's own faults, and not open the faults of others, is that not the way to reform faults? In the anger of the moment, to forget one's safety and that of one's parents, is that not confusion? 12.22, Fan Chu asked about Ran. The master said, cherish people. When he asked about knowledge, the master said, know people. And Fan Chu did not understand. The master said, if you raise up the straight and place them over the crooked, then they can make the crook straight. Fan Chu took his leave and went to see Zixia. Just now, I was with the master and asked him about knowledge. He said, if you raise the straight and place them over the crooked, they can make the crook straight. What did he mean? Zixia said, how rich these words are. When Shun possessed the word, he picked Gao Yao out from among the multitudes, and those who were not run kept far distant. When Tong possessed the word, he picked Yi Ying out from among the multitudes, and those who were not run kept far distant.
Thank you, Kwon. Yeah.
Thank you, Quan.
Yeah, that's a little bit long, and then I'll deal with them. I believe that's the first time we meet this student called Fan Chi. Okay. Chi means slow, delayed. Okay. So, and in reality, Fan Chi is one of the slow, always delay, not quick response. So we will say the IQ probably not that high. Okay, this kind of student, but thank him because he always, because most of Confucius dialogue and the analog, right? The dialogue when Confucius talk to the student ask question, Confucius answer, the students got it. Okay, and the Fan Chi always ask. And then apparently Confucius is tired of Confucius not only give him a further explanation, and Fan Chi that never understand the further explanation that he has to ask his classmate, and his classmate has to explain to him. But because of this, we probably can know better about Confucius' philosophy or moral teaching. So this is two session about Fan Chi, and I think the next book 13 also have another famous one. So by all this, we can figure out the personality of Fan Chi, not only slow and then, but he must be a very solid person. Opposite than Zizang, he probably worked too much on the detail. So in a way, we can say he's a detail-oriented person. He put too much detail on that. That's my understanding. And then in book 13, you probably will find out he's this kind of person. So that just put this one in the background. Let's see chapter 21. Fan Ci was wandering with the master under the rain altar of Wu Yu. Okay, so here, if you remember the last chapter of book 11, the Confucius with 4 students, they sit in the place. The place called Wu Yu. That's the rain altar. Okay, that's the place people can relax. And over there, they have a hot spring. You can take a bath over there, public bath over there. So that's the place, just like today's Central Park or the area. People can sit there, chat, and relax. So Fan Ci was wandering with the master under the rain altar of Wu Yu. I like to sidetrack a little bit about the word wandering. In Chinese, called yu. Okay, since I'm very into, I'm more Taoism than Confucianism. So when you read Zhuangzi, the Taoism reading, Zhuangzi will use a lot of words called yu, wandering. We call wandering. Whenever you go someplace, whenever you think about something, whenever you visit some place, they all call Zhuangzi, or in the Taoism, always call wandering. But in Confucius, I check the word. That's the only word used here as wandering. Okay, wandering means you go someplace or excursion, right? Go someplace without certain purpose. So that means Confucianism is always purposeful. You always have some purpose. And the Taoism has less on the purpose. So I find out this word yu is only used positively once in this word. So it's interesting. So Fan Ci was wandering with master under the altar, the rain altar of Wu Yu. So they are relaxed during that time. Okay. So he means Fan Ci asks, may I ask exalting virtue, correct mistakes, and discerning confusion? Okay. So this question has been asked in, I think in book 1126, book 11, oh, no, the same chapter, 10, right? If you check 12:10, okay, 子章, okay, ask about exhaustion version and the discerning confusion. 子章 already asked the question, so Confucius give him the answer. So here, Fan Ci is going to ask the same question again, and that's why Fan Ci is slow. That's why this chapter is much longer. So here, Fan Ci was wandering with the master under the rain altar of Wu Yu. He said, may I ask about exalting virtue, correct mistakes, and the discerning confusion? The master said, good question. That's a very good question. Be first to work and the last to gain. Is that not exalting? So Confucius talk about exalting virtue means you work and don't think about what the reward. It means probably Fan Ci think too much, okay, in the detail, so you hesitate, Criticize your own weakness and do not criticize others' weakness. Is that not corrected mistake? In moments of anger, to endanger yourself and your parent, is that not confusion? So I think in chapter 10, we talked about confused, right? When are you confused? Because you just use Kuang's word, the inferior emotion, right? In the chapter 10, Confucius talked about why you are confused, because you love a person at the same time you hate a person. You want the person alive, also want the person to die. So that's confusion. So because your inferior emotion. So here again, we talk about in the moment of anger, you endanger yourself. You don't control yourself. You endanger yourself and your parents, because if you do something dangerous, it's also endanger your parents. So that's Confucius' answer to Fan Ci with the same question asked by Zhang. So 22 is more famous on this one because here hardly Confucius, very few define the meaning of word. And in this paragraph, Confucius defined two words of 人 and wisdom. So Fan Ci asked about 人, that's a big question, right? So Confucius gives a very short answer, love people. So this one become a very important definition for in Confucius. Then he asked about wisdom, and the master said, know people. So 人 means love people. Wisdom means know people. So Eno's translation and a lot of translation translate the word 知 as knowledge, but put everything in this content. I believe this word should translate as wisdom, not knowledge, because when you talk about knowledge as knowing people, it logically doesn't make sense to me. So, of course, Fan Ci will not immediately understand. So Fan Ci didn't fully understand. So the master said, master gives a detailed explanation. Raising up the upright and setting them above the crooked will make the crooked upright. I think this saying he is in the book 2, Confucius already talked to, I think, Duke I of Lu, okay, talking about to raising up the right people, raising up the upright and setting them above the crooked will make the crooked upright. That's the same philosophy Confucius had, right? Put the upright person, the good person on the top, and then the person below, even they are crooked or bad person, they will become upright. So that's Confucius' idea. So of course, Fan Ci still not understand. So Fan Ci left. Okay. So Zixia, that's another smart student, and said, a while ago I saw the master and asked about wisdom. The master said, raising up the upright and setting them above the crooked will make the crooked upright. What did he mean? Zixia said, how rich this world are. When the sage king Sun governed the world, he bring up the example 1500 years before their time. He select Gao Yao among the people and raised him as a prime minister. The people who were not learned stay far away. So he used the example 1500 years ago when the sage king Sun selected Gao Yao. So that's why Confucius talking about wisdom means knowing people. He know who is the right people and select him as the prime minister. So everything will work. Then Zixia give another example. When another sage king, Tang governed the world, he talking about the example about 1,000 years ago, governed the world. He select Yi Yun among the people, raising him as prime minister. The people who are not learned stay far away. So here, I believe here is talking about Fan Ci, probably too detail-oriented. So Confucius and Zixia is telling Fan Ci, you just put the right people. I will assume Fan Ci is doing some government job. So you just put the right people in charge, and then everything will be right. So you need to know who is the right people to select. I think that's Confucius' teaching about wisdom, and specifically for Fan Ci, because he probably too detail-oriented on this. So I'll stop here, and please comment.
All right. Anybody wish to comment? TLJ looks like, I'm assuming that's an exclamation point.
Oh, well, only because I was using it as an exclamation point. No, I was just saying, obviously, this is advocating meritocracy, right? I'm just wondering how that would work in a democratic system when a mass of people will choose the right person for the job. Maybe not.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Yeah.
Go on. Go on.
Okay, once again, one of the major idea in 12.22 is precisely the charismatic virtue. Okay, because I know I repeat it, but I think it's a major concept in Confucianism. A virtue is something that is inside you that would make you do the right thing. Okay, the four major virtue: wisdom, valor, humanity, and justice. But also there is a charismatic dimension in that virtue, according to the Chinese classical understanding, that if you have that run, you would be capable to influence people almost by magic and to shift them on the right way rather than and the small man would be the person who would bring people on the primrose path. Okay, that is a very stark distinction, and often in historical books from ancient China you have role models who possess the charismatic virtue, and the anti role models who were people leading people to the primrose path.
Thank you for that, Quan. Let's see if there's anybody else wishes to comment. Anybody else wish to comment on number 20? I mean, I like the use of wisdom with that, Jason. And I think that this is this chapter as well as chapter 11. Chapter 11 more so. It was readily apparent that of how to how to cultivate virtue. I mean, he was kind of talking to each one of his students and what areas they needed to work on. And so there's an element of he was actually, some people needed to work because they were greedy, and so they actually had to adjust their behaviors. Some people needed to work just a little bit harder. And it's interesting to see him go through the different personalities of his students. And now we're going over the ethics again. And we can come back to this in detail. I really do think that this is something, because I would like to go over the concept of Ren as well as Li, because I think that they're essential to the metaphysics of Confucianism. So maybe when we get to finished, but let's try and go ahead and finish book 12, and then Mon will be proud of us.
Yeah, that's great. That's the first time we can. I think our original idea is to finish in 1.5 hours, right? So that's the first time.
Well, yeah, we did. We had a plan of that, but
yeah. So we can finish the 23, 24, and thank you, Kwang, to read. And,
yeah, thank you, Kwang.
To friendship.
Okay. So 12.23, Zhong asked about friends. The master said, advise them loyally and guide them well. If this does not work, desist. Do not humiliate yourself. 12.24, Master Zhong said, a Junzi attracts friends through his pattern behavior and employs friends to assist him in the run.
Thank you, Kwang. And let's finish this book, chapter 12. 20. Okay, so that's all about friendship or friends. Okay. Zhong asked about friendship. The master said, advise them honestly and guide them well. Desist if this doesn't work. Don't humiliate yourself. And Aman would like to translate as don't dishonor yourself. So it seems Confucius, when Zhong asked about friendship or friends, okay, Confucius' answer is the way of treating your friend. That's Confucius' view of friendship. Or that's the way Confucius answered this question. Okay. So I think in the entire Analects doesn't talk about a lot of thing about friendship, and that's the one. And there's another one. They all have about moral cultivation, because the reason of your friend is to improve each other's morality or virtue. 24, Zheng said, I think in book 8, that's all about Zheng. And the Zheng is, if you remember in book 11, Zheng Dian or Zheng Xi is Zheng's father. Okay, so he's much younger. Zheng here is much younger. But I think this word is very interesting and very important, at least to me. A Junzi used culture to meet his friends. Through his friend, he developed the virtue of Ren. Okay, so translate as a pattern. So of course, I disagree on this part. I respect most of the translation, but this pattern I just cannot agree. But I think this one, we talk about Junzi use culture to meet his friend, just like we use philosophy to know each other. Okay, so in another side is you have a business friend, you have a drinking buddy, which is not using the culture or literature to know your friend, to cut, and only this kind of friend can cultivate or develop the virtue of learning. So we end up book 12, and let's stop here and please come.
So this, go ahead and you can comment on 23 or 24, or we can revisit a lot of the topics that we had tabled. I think that there's a lot of interesting topics that we could be covering this evening. The friendship, I actually don't recall. What is the other section in the book, Jason, where friendship is indeed covered?
I believe that we haven't talked about this yet, right?
Yeah, okay. All right.
I don't remember, but it's not a lot about friendship.
It's interesting.
I just put the translation in it. So every end, the book, I will put the translation, the PDF file. So you're welcome to download. And then if you pay attention on the meetup page, and I start to put the recording and the translation in the meetup page. I just do it. I didn't. I'm sorry to delay. I supposed to do it early time, but I just do it last night. So from now on, if you pay attention on the meetup page, they have the. I will include the translation and the video recording in the meetup page.
So, are there any comments regarding the idea of friendship for this?
Yeah, I put an exclamation mark in there, but I'm not sure. I think I might want to retract it. I'm just curious about the use of the word. Is it use friends, or is it rely on friends, or get friends to assist you? What's the term they're using? They don't mean, squeeze your friends. It's not like kind of use friends in the utility sense, right?
No.
What's the translation of that word that goes before friends?
Yeah, honestly, be honest, is unfortunately, I think Confucius probably use the friends as a means instead of
Oh wow.
the end.
Okay.
So
I was expecting-
that's the way I read the. Let me show you the words here.
That's very
So,
uncharitable. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually,
unfortunately, okay. So here, 以有辅人. 以 means usually this word 以 that means use. Okay, so the words follow this word. That means the means. Okay, so that's why I'm personally I don't like Confucius' idea of a friendship. Okay, because they always have a purpose on that. So personally, I probably prefer a drinking party than
Okay.
use friends means.
I'm glad I asked now because I thought no, it can't be that, and I nearly retracted it. Okay, well, I've learned something.
Yeah, I just try to be honest. So be loyal to the word.
There you go.
Oh, you have a suggestion?
but that being said, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're using them, but you're using them to acquire virtue. So, I mean, are you really using them? I mean,
The ends justify the means.
if they're making you better. I mean, to be quite honest, this is something that very harshly the Stoics state. Epictetus does, in that, and it's an act of really more so of humility, because the admission is that you have to be around friends that help you acquire virtue, because if you're not, that you're more likely to slip into vice. So it's actually an admission of your own, it's a form of humility, it's an admission of your own fallibility. So I think that every relationship that people enter into, I think there's give and take. Now, I do think 23 is faithful, and the one I have actually says, faithfully admonish your friend and skillfully lead him on. If you find him impeccable or impractical, stop. Do not disgrace yourself.
So we can see, right, 23 and 24, that's pretty just be faithful to the word, right? But 24, Confucius talking about using friends to develop your virtue. Okay, so use friend as a means. So easy you come with the question, right? How about this friend is a bad friend, right? He doesn't help you. You cannot use this friend to improve or develop the virtue of what you do. So you go back to 23, right? Zhong said, advise them honestly and guide them well, right? So if your friend cannot be used as a means to improve your virtue, then you advise him, okay, and try to guide him well. But to some point, desist if it doesn't work, okay? Don't humiliate yourself. So Confucius is very practical. I believe he doesn't want you to stay together with this friend because he's not helping you. So, but in the later part, he talked about another way to look at this bad friend is as a warning for yourself, right? Because he's bad, so I should not be like him. So that's another way to take a friend as a means, because you are good, you help me to improve. If you are bad, then I advise you. If it doesn't work, I stop. And then your bad behavior can show as a warning sign for myself. So it's also worked. That's my interpretation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Quan.
Well, once again, classical education